Joyce, how did you know about it?
She listens to her elders.
Sam.
Go. Go hide. Go. Joyce, I have something for you. Put this in the pouch that Henry gave you. Keep it with you. The oyster shell protects him just as the Great Spirit protects us. And remember, Joyce, all things, even the smallest things, are worthy of protection.
teacher.
Time will come, Joyce, when you will take my place. You will hold our history and our stories in your mind, and you will pass them on.
How I learn.
Watch. And you listen. No matter what happens to you, your people, or your family, you remember. It's a great responsibility we assume, but you have been chosen. We are never chosen for something we do not have the power to do.
Hide yourself good, Henry, or I'll find you. Almost ready.
Joyce Simmons. Took two.
Emily Sam!
Be a good girl then.
Grandfather!
It won't help to call out.
No!
They put me in a wagon and drove away. Drove for several days, but they never told us where we were going. Sometimes they got out and grabbed more children. I remember, I saw a little boy playing in his yard.
Run, little boy!
Little boy looked up when he heard me.
Run back into your house!
They reached out to grab him.
Run before they catch you!
They took the little boy from his yard. He screamed for his mother.
Boy!
They brought him to our wagon, and I had to hold on to him as we drove so he wouldn't fall out.
Were we bad? No. Then why are they taking us? My grandfather gave me this shell. He said it'll protect me. The oyster shell protects him just as the Great Spirit protects us. What's your name? My name's Joyce. I don't know your name, I can't be your friend. I'm Otis. Say it to my friend Otis. Yeah.
In our efforts to educate and Christianize the Indian, we should endeavor to divorce him from his primitive habits and customs. He should be induced to emulate the white man in all things.
The government started with the children, stating they needed to be taken from their homes at an early age before their parents could instill within them the principles of Indian life. With the children, one of the first things they did was cut off our hair. We had been raised to be very careful of our hair. Take care of it and let it grow, because our hair has a connection to our life, and mistreatment of it could bring you harm. You would only cut your hair if someone in your family died, as a way of mourning and to show honor to the dead. But none of us said anything about that. We just sat there, and none of us cried until we were alone in our rooms.
Experience has shown that it's possible to do a great deal for the Indian. It's possible to educate them. It's possible to prepare them to take their places as citizens alongside us in this great republic.
So we were given our uniforms and shoes for our feet, and we were marched outside to meet the other students. They still haven't told us where we were, or why we'd been brought there. But what I do remember most about my first day is the buildings. Brick and mortar rising high into the sky. They were the biggest buildings I'd ever seen.
Welcome to the Toledo Training School. I'm Dr. Buchanan. Why don't you let me show you around? You see, the Toledo School was until recently an abandoned Catholic mission. As you can see, we've converted some of the buildings into a schoolhouse, a shop, an office, hospital, a sawmill, laundry, the headmaster's house, that's where I live, and 2 dormitories, one for the girls and one for the boys. Now your mornings will be spent in the classroom. You'll learn reading, writing, basic arithmetic. Your afternoons will be spent on work detail. Boys will learn carpentry, farming, general upkeep. The girls will learn cooking, weaving, sewing, and a few will even be selected for nurses training. We're also going to have a marching band and a drill team. A young man, the first thing you're going to have to learn is how to raise your hand. If you have a question, raise your hand. Do you have questions? All right, very well. So then there will be courses. Yes, young man, what is it?
Can I go home now?
You know, I've asked myself that same question a lot over the past few years. I'm away from home too. What's your name, young man?
I'm Otis.
What tribe are you from, Otis? Oh, come on now, any of you. Don't be shy. I want to know what your tribes are, where your people are from. Right. Well, this is Nurse Warner, our head nurse.
Welcome.
She's going to be showing the girls their dormitories. And Mr. Conrad, history teacher, is showing the boys to theirs. And I'll see you all bright and early tomorrow morning. And remember, listen for the bells.
Well, ladies, shall we go? Follow me.
Off we go, gentlemen.
Joyce!
Young man, get back here. Get back here this instant.
Otis, it's all right. Don't worry, you'll see her soon.
Young man, one thing you'll learn here is that when you are given an order, it's meant to be followed. Now, let go over and stand up straight.
He wants to see his mom. He wants to...
I'm not talking to you, girl. Follow Nurse Warner to your room. Let go over and look at me. Your mother is not here, son. From now until you are a grown and civilized young man, this is your home. We are your family. And when we tell you to do something, you do it. Are you ready to go? Good day, ladies.
They took us to what was called the girls' home. Our rooms were on the 2nd floor. At night, we had to take off our shoes and leave them in the basement. This was done to soften our footsteps. They were very concerned with quiet. In the morning, we had to walk down barefoot to get our shoes. The basement was always the coldest place of all, so into winter, this made for a very cold walk. There were many of us in one room, but my bed was at the end of the room, near a window, away from the other girls.
What's her name? I think it's Joyce. Look. It's her hair. She kept it up so they cut it off. Let me see. She saved it. What's that noise? Hurry! Where are you going? Grab 2 bucks and come. My what? Hurry!
Everything was done by bells. Every night, we marched into the washroom just before bedtime. The school was very strict about grooming. They thought we didn't know any better. This was funny to us because our families had always been very concerned with daily bathing and good, clean teeth. We had been taught by our parents to watch the animals and care for ourselves as well as they do. But of course, the teachers didn't know anything about this. Their job was to clean us up. And we did our best to help them along. I'd never been so far from home. We asked how long we'd be gone, and they said nothing. For all we knew, and for all our families knew, we were gone for good.
want? Why don't any of the other kids see you except me? Are you the pitcherman? You're not the pitcherman? Then who are you? It's my big Sam and Henry. It's my family. Hello? Hello? Tell me who you are.
I lay awake all night that first night, wondering what I'd just seen, and if it really was only my imagination. And then at 5 in the morning, we had to get all cleaned up again, even though we hadn't done anything except sleep. Hunting, hiking, swimming, fishing, but they were determined to direct our energies into what is called useful channels.
The Indian is splendidly equipped for manual labor, but in a literary and professional sense, he's apt to be deficient. Therefore, rather than study hypothetical occasions or the geography of countries he'll never visit, we believe industrial training should have a foremost place in Indian education.
Be gentle in your judgments. These men and women were the social reformers of their day, and they had inherited from the United States government, the people who had displaced the Indians, the task of righting a great national wrong. But even though they may have had the best of intentions, to this day, I don't think Mr. Conrad knew the slightest thing about calisthenics.
What do you call this one, Mr. Conrad?
I call it the Hackensack High Topper.
It's fascinating.
Up and out now, come on. Remember, flag drill at noon and marching at 3. Good day.
Well, good morning, troops. For those of you who are new here, I'm sure by now you've discovered we like to spend as much time in the open air as possible. Yes, Otis, what is it?
My leg hurts.
I'm not surprised. We'll have a word with Mr. Conrad about his exercises, but in the meantime, let's all have a seat, shall we? As you all know, Thanksgiving is just around the corner. I was thinking a little turkey, a little stuffing, some cranberries. Yes, Otis, what is it? I'm sorry?
I tried.
Your
Squall.
Gadget.
Johannes.
Giannis.
Squall. Squall. Anichi.
I had no idea there were so many tribes represented here. No idea at all.
How about you?
Pardon?
What's your tribe?
Well, I suppose I come from a tribe called Philadelphia.
I like Dr. Buchanan. But it seemed the more time I spent at Toledo, the more I missed my family and the way things were done at home.
Joyce, are you stitching? Now, this is called the log cabin quilt. Each square is sewn on individually, then added to the rest. There are many kinds of quilts you can make, and each kind tells a different story.
My mother and grandmother made quilts using designs from stories of the eagle, the salmon, the whale, stories that went to the days of the Great Flood and before.
Joyce, did you hear me? Now, this quilt comes from the pioneer women who traveled west with their families. Who can tell me the story of those women's journeys? Lily.
The gold rush in California in 1849 and in Colorado in 1859 brought hundreds of families to the west in covered wagons.
Good. Perhaps our next quilt can be a covered wagon design.
I want to make a salmon quilt.
What's that?
I want to make a in the spring to catch salmon.
And that's not what you're here to learn, Joyce.
I want to make a salmon quilt.
Someday you will, but first you must learn this log
I'll
cabin.
talk to Asa.
Joyce, you know you're to speak English and English only at this school. You know that, don't you?
Yes.
Now what did you say? Joyce? Lillian, can you tell me what Joyce just said?
She says she thinks the quilts are stupid.
Is that true? You must learn to sew, Joyce.
I know how to sew. My grandmother taught me.
But this is the way you learn. But you must learn to sew this way. This is the way quilts are made now. You'll be able to make them for your family, but you'll also be able to sell them. Make a living with them. Wouldn't you like that?
But this is your story, not mine.
But don't you want to learn new stories?
Yes, but like you said,
That's all I'm asking you to do. Learn new stories in addition to your own. That's why you're here. So you'll be able to live as well as you can when you leave here.
but when I leave here, I'm going home.
Home to the reservation?
Home, to my family at Oyster Bay.
And Miss Brennan just looked at me. I don't think she'd ever thought about what I just said. That maybe they were preparing me for a world I would never enter.
Girls, let's finish up. We'll continue tomorrow.
I remember wanting to stay in my room and not go to class anymore.
Each day is a gift from the Great Spirit. To waste one of your days is inexcusable. You must account for yourself and your time on earth. You must learn to be useful.
So, I started a quilt of my own.
What kind of quilt will it be? A salmon quilt. Where'd you get the cloth? Seeds, I'm hungry.
Potato stew and fish oil?
And berries for dessert. And Emily Sam's ashes bread.
I want to go home. It's all right, Sarah. Joyce, tell her a story.
A long time ago, there were two brothers. One was very dark, the other was very white. They fought all the time. This made their grandparents very angry. One day, their grandparents said to them, "Now that you have grown to young men, it is time for you to leave and make homes of your own." To the dark brother, they said, "You must go to where the sun sets. Make a good life, be useful, then grow the land." Then to the white brother, they said, "You must go toward where the sun rises, far from your dark brother. Make your life fair." Then to both brothers, they said,
Because of your fighting, you will never in life come together again.
"But someday, many years from now, your children and your children's children may find a way to come together. And on that day, not before,
They will live in the peace which you never found."
You should be asleep, girls. But since you're up, I have something for you. These are crosses from the school that came in the mail today.
This is your new school, boy. And this one's not going to be so easy to run away from like the last one. But I hope you tried. You know, I really do hope you tried. Because when you do, I will be waiting for you. Got me! Girl!
Yes, sir?
Where's the headmaster's house?
Shouldn't you be in class, Joyce? Well, is there something you'd like to ask me? Well, what is it?
Why did they beat that boy? He was all bloody. Why did they do that?
I'm sorry you had to see that, Joyce.
Did you tell them to beat him?
No, I didn't.
What did he do wrong?
I don't know, Joyce. You really should get back to class. Well, would you like to help me plant some tulips? Did you know the word tulip comes from the Turkish word tulben, meaning gauze? It's also the root word for turban.
Like this?
Just give him a little more room. There you go. See, the Ottoman Empire thought that a turban looked like a tulip, the way its petals came together. There are over 100 varieties to choose from. The key is to plant them in the fall.
Before the first frost.
What's that you said?
Before the first frost.
In English, Joyce.
Before the first frost, isn't that right?
Dr. Buchanan.
Ah, Superintendent Lang. We weren't expecting you until next week.
My schedule changed.
Well, we're delighted. Joyce, this is Mrs. Lang, Superintendent of Indian Schools here from Washington, D.C.
I see we've added horticulture to our list of classes.
Just...
Who authorized that purchase, Dr. Buchanan?
Well, you did in your most recent report.
I authorized the cultivation of local plants and trees, not tulips from Holland.
Well, I'd be glad to cover the cost myself.
The cost is only part of the issue. The use of student time to plant flowers seems like a willful extravagance. Why isn't this girl in class with the others?
With all due respect, ma'am, I don't feel that beauty is an extravagance. I feel as though these students have the right to live in a schoolyard that is just as beautiful as the homes from which we took them.
And are you in a position to grant such rights, such as the right to speak the Indian language?
I just wanted to know what she said, and surely
Dr.
we can allow...
Buchanan, the Indian language is not just discouraged, it is forbidden. The way to give this girl useful knowledge is to help her forget the pagan superstitions of her people.
Come on, kids. Richard, remember no cutting in line. Cutting in line will not be tolerated here.
Well, what do we have here?
Children, this is Superintendent Lang. Can you all say hello?
Hello.
We've been out picking fall berries. Care for a taste?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Well,
Absolutely delicious. I would like a photograph of you all on the steps of the school for our files in Washington, D.C.
we'll be waiting for you there. Remember, Richard, no cutting in line.
Dr. Buchanan, are we clear?
Yes.
That was an absolutely delicious berry, but it does stain the skin. I'd like to wash up before I photograph.
Here.
What's this?
It's the leaf of that berry you just ate. It will remove the stain.
I've learned to rely on soap and water.
I do as she says. It's the best way that we've found.
Look at with their tongue, then rub it with their fingers in a circle. So,
Isn't that amazing? Her grandfather taught her that. We've also learned that madrona leaf tea is good for ulcers, and as for high blood pressure, the leaves of the huckleberry bush can actually...
Let's take that photograph now, shall we?
Joyce, I've asked to pick one of the girls to be my nurse's maid. Tend to cuts and scrapes and learn about treating illnesses, preventing disease. Are you afraid of blood? No. Good, because I've chosen you, Joyce. But I've already been taught those things. I know that. That's why I've chosen you. Those things you learned at home with the students at ease here. Now, why don't you tell me the Squawks a word for doctor? But we're not supposed to speak our language. Joyce has asked you to do something. What that? How about medicine? Spellcheck. Spellcheck? Oops. Spellcheck. Alright, how about remedy? What is your word for remedy? Joyce? Maybe there isn't one. Not all languages have words for the things we do.
There was a word for it, but no matter how long I stood there, I couldn't think of it. I couldn't remember it.
Don't worry, Joyce. You'll make a fine nurse's aide. Here, a letter came for you. It's from home.
I had never gotten a letter before. I figured it must be from Henry, since he knew how to read and write. It was a short letter.
Dear Joyce, I have some news from home. Your grandfather, One-Bay Sam, has passed on to the next world.
Joyce, we're waiting for you.
He loved nothing more than carving his cedar canoes. He spoke of one day carving a new canoe and paddling it across time.
Everyone, look at the camera.
We know in our hearts that he's doing just that. He will meet all his cherished ancestors on his journey.
Say cheese.
Cheese! We know his thoughts are with you, Joyce. Your day has come. You are now the rememberer.
There will be a 10-minute intermission.
It was winter now. I hadn't seen my family in 6 months. But I kept sewing my salmon quilt, stitching it together at night when no one was around.
You were laughing, I saw you.
You were laughing louder. Laughing at what?
At the fish oil.
What? We're not done. We're not done.
Quiet, she's here.
No Indian words, girls. You know better. I'll see you all in class.
What? What did you guys do? She found a bottle of Miss Brandon's perfume. So? So she dumped out all the perfume and filled it with fish oil. When did you do this? 2 weeks ago. Did she get mad? She hasn't noticed.
Darren Longfeather showed me the scars on his back.
What scars?
The scars from his other school where they whipped him with the belt. It's not funny.
Why'd they do that?
I don't know, but they did. I saw. That's why he ran away.
They caught him and sent him here.
I bet he runs away again.
The sheriff will kill him if he does. Darren said so.
Dr. Buchanan won't let them hurt him.
It doesn't matter what they say, Joyce. It doesn't matter what the teachers say, Joyce. They can do whatever they want.
There's no way he'll get caught.
What do you mean?
He says he knows a trail. A secret trail that will get him home.
This period of history was preceded by what is now called the Great Flood. Joyce, I believe you were the last to read for us. How about you continue with God commanded Noah to build an ark?
God commanded Noah to build an ark.
Yes, Otis.
What's an ark?
A boat.
A very large boat. You'll see. Continue, Joyce.
And God commanded Noah to build an ark with two of every species on the earth.
Good. Keep going.
Having done this, no one has
Go on, Joyce. Noah and his family had gathered with the animals on the ark.
There aren't any animals yet.
Sure there are. God created them on the sixth day. Noah had saved them prior to the flood. He's gathered them up 2 by 2 and
There
brought...
aren't any animals till after the great flood.
What did you say?
During the great flood, some of the Indians made it to the top of a high mountain on rafts of cedar logs. When the flood was over, some Indians were chosen by the Great Spirit to continue on as people. Others...
Joyce, I won't have you telling these stories in this class.
It's not a story, it's the way animals were...
But this is history class, not story hour. Please sit down.
But you asked me to
Sit down! Otis, perhaps you would like to continue where Joyce has left off.
The rains came and flooded the earth.
Good. Keep going.
Noah and his family gathered on the ark. And the Great Spirit chose some Indians to continue on as people.
and some of the other Indians into animals.
That's enough.
And to one young man, the Great Spirit said,
Your fleet-of-foot but ugly vein.
So you shall be called dear, forever dependent on your life.
That's enough, children.
and to one cross old woman, the Great Spirit said, you are a grumpy old woman, so you should be known as Bear.
And forever walk on all fours.
Scrum run for your food.
That's enough. I need all of you to sit back down.
That's why our parents say to this day, be nice to the bears in the woods.
Because one of them might be your grandmother.
Sit down, all of you.
And the Great Spirit said, always respect the animals in the woods, for they once were your mothers and your fathers, your sisters and your brothers, and your aunts and your uncles.
As you all can see, Darren Longfeather did not stand up. That's because he knows better. Now you are about to learn the same lesson that he did. Follow me.
As we walked across the schoolyard, I thought of the words of my father's grandfather, a Duwamish chief who has come to be known as Chief Seattle.
Your religion was written on tablets of stone by the iron finger of an angry god. Our religion is the tradition of our ancestors, the dreams of our old men given to them in the solemn hours of the night by the Great Spirit. And it is written in the hearts of our people.
Joyce, Mr. Conrad has told me what happened in class today.
He's asking me to learn things that never happened.
I will not stand for this impudence.
Enough, enough. Joyce, I expect you to respect your instructors here.
But I was just...
Joyce, this country is governed on Christian principles. Those principles have found their way into the lessons Mr. Conrad has been hired to teach. Naturally, there are differences between our teachings and those of your elders. However, I ask you to respect the difficult task Mr. Buchanan has been given. Mr. Conrad has been given. Is that clear?
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Buchanan. Joyce, I will see you in class.
Mr. Conrad, I'm not done with you yet. I filed a request with the superintendent. This request asks the children be given 1 hour each day to retell stories from their culture. In this way, as we prepare them for the future, their lineage with the past will not be severed. I need to know that you will support my request.
I most certainly will not.
Why is that?
We can't be expected to instill in these children Christian and patriotic principles while allowing them to retreat to their savage heritage.
We are charged with giving them a humane moral outlook.
But we must not make them self-consciously moral, where they're giving us only answers that we know we want to hear. We must instead make them unconsciously, automatically moral.
And how do you propose we do that?
In the words of our superintendent, it's to kill the Indian to save the man. So no, Dr. Buchanan, I will not support your requests. It flies in the face of our mission here, and if this gives you grounds to dismiss me, then so be it. I've made my position clear.
It's almost time for your next class, Joyce. Don't be late.
There were so many things I wanted to tell him. I wanted to say I was sorry, but I was now the rememberer, the protector of the past. I wanted to tell him that I was afraid, that I'd failed, both in his eyes and in the eyes of my tribe, my family. I looked up at him, but no words ever came.
Darren, I'm Joyce. I've never talked to you. Lillian said at your old school they beat you. Why?
What did you say?
Why? What did you do?
You're a stupid girl.
You must have deserved it.
Do you want to know what I did? Do you? I said my mother's name at night, in my sleep. I said my mother's name, and they heard me. No Indian names, they said. No Indian names. So the next night, they made me sleep on the wooden floor without a blanket, and they watched me. And I tried with all my heart to forget my mother's name. I said my name that night, though. So the next night, they took me out to the barn, and they stuffed cloth in my mouth, and they all stood around me while I slept. I tried not to think about her. I tried not to think about her voice, or her face. I tried to pretend my mother was dead. But in the middle of the night, they woke me up. They tied my hands to a post. They told me I said her name again in my sleep. I swore I'd never do it again. But they said it was too late, that I would have to be taught a lesson. They took off my shirt. One of the men took off his belt. And he started to hit me, but I didn't cry, because I could hear my mother's voice saying, "You'll be home soon, my beautiful boy. You'll be home soon."
They say you know about a secret trail.
Come on, Darren, we're all waiting. Joyce, do you know where you're supposed to be? Then go there.
Dia was succeeded by his brother, Odi. His sons were Chida, Anotsupa, Lewa Kos, Pachisa, Hawisa, Koshase, and then
Kill the Indian to save the man.
I expect you to respect your instructors here.
Learn to accomplish one thing, Joyce.
I tried to forget my mother's name.
At twilight time, the pitch woman throws her basket over her back.
The Indian language is not only discouraged, it is forbidden.
he says he knows the trail.
No Indian names.
He goes forth looking for innocent, disobedient children.
Kill the Indian to save the man.
The Indian language is not only discouraged, it is forbidden.
I tried to
Kill
pretend
the
my mother
Indian to
was
save the
dead.
man.
Kill
Kill the Indian to save the man. This is your
No Indian names.
Be seen again.
It's okay, I'm just here to keep you warm. Quiet.
Let me go.
You'll come to know me.
You're the pitch woman, I knew it.
I know you want to go home.
But I'm lost. I don't know which way to go.
Do you really want me to let you go?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Then I will. Find your way home. Why don't you go? There's no one holding you back now.
The moon is gone. I can't see. Can't see anything at all.
Did your grandmother tell you about Tamanuas?
Yes.
What did she say?
She said when I got old enough, I would go into the woods and I'd pray to the Great Spirit, and I'd be given power.
You would be given Tamanuas.
Yes.
How?
I'd be given my song, and my song would give me direction.
Sing with me. Chaya shika shaskaya kekwatu oyo rio hui hai. La chaya shika shaskaya kekwatu oyo rio hui hai. This is your song now. It's the voice of your ancestors, speaking to you across time. And as you sing it, you'll find your direction.
But I'm lost. I don't
Close your eyes, Joyce. Sing your song.
Who are you? Will it show me the way home?
It will show you where you need to go.
But who are you?
I still didn't know where I was, but I sang
Still
my
didn't know
song.
where I was, but I sang my song, and I kept walking. I walked all night through the woods, and as I got frightened, I sang louder. And as the sun rose, I hadn't found my way home, but I had found myself. Back at the school, I still didn't know the name of that woman, but I remembered what she told me, that my song would lead me to the place where I was needed most.
One of the boys says it's a curse. What do you mean? It's a curse on all of us here. What did we do? We have forgotten our people, so we are being punished. Nurse Warner? Yes, Joyce? Where's Lillian? Girls, finished up now.
Joyce, you're my nurse's maid, and I'm going to need your help. Many of the children are getting sick. We need to quarantine them, keep them away from the others. Most of all, we need to help them get better. It's called influenza, and we're doing everything we can to fight it. Lillian got very sick, and she died. Have you ever known anyone who's died before, Joyce?
And I thought of Mudbay Sam. I thought about how he had taught us not to speak the name of anyone who had died until a year after their death, for fear that they might be called back into this world when they should be moving on to the next.
Can I count on you to help me?
This was the epidemic that would kill millions of people worldwide. It spread across the land like a plague, and we at Toledo were not exempt.
Who is it, Dr. Buchanan?
It's Lucas.
When will the variant's tail be here?
They said Friday.
We need them sooner. The disease is spreading. If we don't get these bodies buried, those still living won't stand a chance.
I know, I told them.
Put them in the basement with the others.
Thought it was strange how we were staying in the same building where death had been. Back at home, the building would be torn down or left abandoned for a year until the spirit of death had passed. But that year at Toledo, there was nowhere to go. Death was in all the buildings.
You must abide by the quarantine, all of you. You're only to leave your rooms to report here for your liquids and vitamins.
Mr. Conrad, you're cut in line right here in front of me.
Thank you.
Hello, Mr. Conrad. How are you feeling? Here, drink this. It'll help you feel better. Here you go. Make sure you drink all of it. It will give us strength to go home.
Thank you.
Here you go. Hello, Ernest. How are you feeling?
Good.
Here, make sure you drink all of this. Are you scared?
No. You said this pouch would protect me.
And it will. Do you feel okay, Otis?
Yes.
How's he doing? Not good. He has a bad fever. Nurse Warner? Yes, drugs? How many is it now?
The epidemic was taking several children a day. Many teachers had also died. Nurse Warner carried her clipboard with her everywhere to keep a record of the epidemic. These were the coldest days of winter. And as the school waited for a military burial detail to arrive, the school had only one place to store the bodies of the dead, in the freezing, cold basement of the schoolhouse. And as the winter wore on, the basement filled up with bodies.
Joyce, Nurse Warner has taken sick. She's been quarantined with the others. She needs your help. The burial detail will arrive tomorrow. We need an accurate count of the bodies before they arrive. Nurse Warner needs you to find her clipboard and bring it to her right away.
I'll check in her office.
Thank you, Joyce.
I think I saw her clipboard.
Where?
Downstairs. At the schoolhouse.
In the basement?
Yeah.
Where am I? Hello?
Otis!
Where am I?
Come on,
I'm
Otis.
scared, don't go.
It's alright, right here.
I wore my pouch like you said.
Come on, Otis, let's go.
He had been unconscious with a bad fever, but they thought he was dead. They had mistakenly brought him down to the basement with the others. I found him 1 hour before the burial detail arrived. He survived the epidemic and is alive to this day.
Have you seen them, Joyce? Spring is here, and with it, nature has once again healed the world.
And then one day, without warning, they told us what we've been waiting to hear.
Have a safe trip home, everyone. We'll see you all in the fall.
My girl, you're home.
Joyce, we've caught the first salmon of the season. Will you help us honor it?
My people believe we must treat the first salmon with great respect and kindness.
The earth is a shrine,
We would lift the salmon from its bed of cedar boughs.
but it is a borrowed shrine.
We would take a cloth and gently wash the salmon's face.
It is loaned to us by the Great Spirit.
We would sing a song thanking the salmon for providing us with food in years gone by.
We must use the gifts of the earth wisely, for they are sacred.
The salmon would be taken away and cooked.
We must account for ourselves in our time on earth.
Its skeleton will carefully be preserved and returned to the waters where it was first caught.
We must learn to be useful.
Look at you.
I have something for you.
Welcome home.
Emily Sam, I have a gift for you.
It's beautiful.
It's for you. I learned the stitching from Miss Friend and Nurse Warner, but I learned the design from you.
Thank you.
Emily Sam, can I ask you something?
Of course.
At the school, I met an old woman. She wore a long dress and a shawl and a kerchief on her head.
Did she carry a walking stick?
Yes? What's so funny?
She's your Aunt Sophie. She's an ancestor of ours who died many years ago. She was my helping spirit when I was a little girl. You must have inherited her from me.
Oh, she gave me some.
I was hoping she would. Joyce, your grandfather left you something. His spirit is still upon the waters.
There was a time when our people covered the land, as the waves of the wind-ruffled sea cover its shell-paved floor. That time has passed away. But when your children's children find themselves alone in the fields, in the shops, in the stores, upon the highway, or in the silence of the pathless woods, they will not be alone.
I went to the Toledo school for several years, coming home each summer to visit my family. And years later, I was married and had children of my own. I passed on to them the teachings of the school. But I also passed something else on to them. The teachings of Mud Bay Sam. The history, the humor, the stories, the traditions of our people. There's a lot to remember.